One of the biggest questions I get asked by a lot of other creators is what makes a video a good video, and how do we know how to make videos that will actually do well on YouTube? That's a really important question, and I've taken a lot of time really distilling down what I think the most important factors are that decide whether or not a video will be a successful video or whether that video might fail. Let me break those down for you. Number one, topic. Now, I know a lot of you might be going, well, that's a pretty obvious one, but a lot of times what I see is that creators don't really take the time to suss out a really great topic for their channel. A lot of times I'll even see them make content that one day the topic is relevant to one particular target audience, and then the next day the new content they make isn't relevant to that same target audience. The thing to remember is that for every video we put out there, YouTube is using the data it collects to better understand who to serve tomorrow's video to. So keeping all of these videos in alignment for topic, or what I like to call conversation, is really important for helping YouTube to learn exactly who to serve your videos to in the future. Now, when it comes to picking a topic, try to be as specific as you can. So for instance, today I'm talking about YouTube growth and how to grow a YouTube channel, but I wanted to dial it down specifically today to the things that you want to think about when you're making a video. Now from there, I think the next thing that you want to think about is your title. Now I know a lot of people wait to the last minute to come up with a title or a thumbnail, and I honestly think that's the wrong way to approach most content. Not all, but most content. Especially if you're a resource or utility channel. I think understanding what you're making and who you're making it for before you ever make that thing will always yield better results. It's almost like if you were a tailor and you were making a suit. Would it be easier to make a suit and then try to find someone who fits that suit? Or find the very person who wanted that suit made, take their measurements, and make that suit for them specifically? Think about ways that you can do things like raise curiosity, or maybe leave some information gaps that the person would read the title, and to get the other piece of missing information, they'd need to click and watch the video. You'll see examples of these kinds of things a lot in either newspaper articles, magazines, or when you're even scrolling through an internet news feed like on Google. Putting in compelling elements that might raise a question or curiosity in the viewer's mind and then leaving that information out of the title and packaging can be really helpful to get them to click and watch and come down the rabbit hole of that video with you. A very simple example of that is the video I'm making here today. Now I know that I'm going to talk about factors that could potentially help a video be successful or cause it to fail, so I'm going to try to write a title that represents that. But I'm probably not going to tell you what those factors are in the title or in the thumbnail. I'm just going to present the premise of what it is we're going to talk about today, and then hopefully deliver on that, so once you click and start watching, you get exactly what was promised in the title and the thumbnail. And that's the next factor we're going to talk about. Number 3 is the thumbnail. Now there's a million different ways to make a thumbnail, and I've heard every explanation of what a good thumbnail is and what a bad thumbnail is. But the long and short of it is a good thumbnail is one that's effective. And that means it gets the viewer to click and start watching your video. It should work well with the title of your video as well. Sometimes I see creators make the mistake of just putting their face up in the thumbnail and then trying to stuff their entire title up there. And not that I'm against putting your face in a thumbnail or putting text in a thumbnail, but when you just start cramming things in there and your videos really aren't getting many views, then maybe think about approaching it from a different angle. Because the real objective is to try to get that viewer to stop in their scroll, see your video, click on it, and watch your video. If you look at some of the examples I mentioned before, they'll use a lot of simple imagery that might connect with that person and their interests, and not try to stuff it with a bunch of things that might draw your eye in different directions or make it harder for the viewer to understand at a glance. Now, most of you, I think, understand the idea of topic, title, and thumbnail, because those often are the biggest 3 and the most important to trying to make successful videos. But some of the lesser understood factors are things like number 4, timing. Timing can mean many things when it comes to dropping a video. Sometimes it can be as simple as if you're making a video about the best set of Christmas lights that you can buy and you're making that video in July, it's probably not going to have the same kind of reach it would have in December. Timing can also have to do around events in their popularity. When there are topics that are trending, that's a better time to jump on and make some sort of video that might relate to that interest, instead of making a video about a movie that was out 2 years ago, where that might not have as much importance to the potential viewer because it's a bit dated material, it's something that they're no longer interested in as much. Timing is also important within your channel itself. If you put out a video last week that did very well, it might be a good idea to follow that video up with another video on a very similar topic, because you've already learned that that topic did well with your target audience. Now, by the same token, if you tried to make 4 or 5 videos on that topic, there's a potential that you might exhaust the interest in that particular topic, and the timing to drop another video about it, as good as that video may be, might be the wrong time. You might find out it's better off to wait a little bit and come back to that topic a little later on. These are all things that we learn from trial and error on our own channels by seeing what works and what doesn't work, taking that data, analyzing it, and then trying to adjust as we move forward. Now, the number 5 factor that can make or break a video is structure. When I say structure, I really mean how you're physically putting that video together. I see a lot of creators make the mistake of taking too long to get to the topic, or they use a lot of long intros or asks where they say things like, welcome to the channel, thanks for being here, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And they do a lot of things that make the viewer potentially click away right when they started watching. So in terms of structure, think about always having something that really grabs that viewer right at the beginning of your video. We typically call that a hook. And then as your video moves along, make sure the pacing of that video makes sense. Don't always feel like your video structure has to be A to B to C to D and all the way straight forward in a timeline. Sometimes that can be things like starting your video off with the most pivotal moment in that video and then backtracking to bring people back up to that point. We've seen a lot of great movies get made by people like Quentin Tarantino, where they put the order of events out of order, and just by doing that, it engages the viewers in a way that keeps them watching. So never be afraid to challenge your own structure and try things differently than you may have in the past. Remember that the very beginning of those videos are more important than ever, because even now we're starting to see videos show up in autoplay so that when someone hovers over that in the scroll, it begins to play the video. So those opening moments can be more important than ever. The 6th most important factor when it comes to building content that your viewers will actually watch is execution. And I don't mean killing somebody. What I mean is the way you actually execute on the video itself. Sometimes you can have a great topic and a great title, and you can have a great thumbnail, and the actual structure of the video is pretty good. But when the video starts, maybe you have an extreme lack of energy, or maybe the video's a little bit out of focus, or the lighting is wrong, or just the way you spoke into the camera wasn't very engaging. Even though you said the right things, the way you executed on them didn't really impact the viewer in a way to get them watching and keep them watching. There are a lot of factors to execution, but I think one of the most important ones is authenticity. If the viewer believes that you or your content is something that they can instantly connect with, and they feel that it speaks to them, then that's the kind of stuff that can really do well on the platform. Now, the 7th factor that decides whether or not your video might do well or might do poorly is often competition. Make sure that the video that you're making isn't something that viewers have seen already many times over, or that a lot of other content creators have already made videos about and that are performing really well on the platform. I think this is often where I see creators fail the most. They see something that someone else did and they want to reproduce it because they feel like they have a roadmap. You're much better off trying to find something that you have a unique perspective on, or even approaching a similar topic but in a different way can change the way that that video will be surfaced with the kind of audiences you'd like to reach. Remember that it's not always just about how well you did making your video, but how many other videos have already been made about that topic and have done well themselves. If there's anything in here that I didn't quite explain well enough or you have some questions about, feel free to ask me down in the comments section below. Keep creating. Peace.